Deliverance. For a long time, I didn't believe deliverance was something meant for everyone. I thought it belonged to the deeply religious or the lucky, to people who live cleaner lives, people with certainty, people without my past. I didn't fully know what deliverance was, only what it wasn't. It wasn't for people who had misunderstood life for too long. It wasn't for people with flaws they couldn't untangle. It wasn't for people who questioned everything and still came up empty. So I didn't fear the absence of it. I accepted it. This, I thought, was just how life was for me, something to endure, something to manage, something to survive with enough strength and self control to keep moving forward. Freedom felt conditional, earned through worthiness, obedience, or a kind of faith I didn't believe I possessed. And yet, there was always a quiet, maybe one day, not hope exactly, more like a distant awareness that something existed beyond the life I was living, something other people seemed to touch, even if I couldn't name it or reach it myself. At the time, I didn't know I was standing at the edge of anything. I only thought something felt unreachable and that I had learned to live without it. The illusion. Nothing outside of me had to change for the cycle to repeat. The circumstances shifted, the details rearranged themselves, but the inner experience stayed the same. The same tightening in my chest, the same urgency, the same panic that told me I needed to act fast before something went wrong again. I thought avoiding pain meant I was healing. I stopped seeing the problem clearly. I stopped listening. Everything became about solving, managing, and anticipating. I told myself this was growth, that I was learning, adapting, becoming wiser. In reality, I was just trying to outrun a feeling I didn't trust myself to face. Fear felt familiar, so did resentment, frustration, and shame. How am I here again? I thought I knew better than this. Each time it returned, I trust myself less. I questioned my judgment, my decisions, my instincts. Avoidance started to feel like responsibility. Control looked like discipline. If I could just recognize the pattern sooner, think harder, plan better, maybe I could prevent the pain altogether. But no matter how many lenses I put on, I kept arriving at the same place. That's when the effort started to break me. I believed that if I stopped fighting, I would lose everything, that resistance was the only thing keeping me standing. I didn't stop avoiding because I believed it was the right thing to do. I stopped because I was exhausted. Fighting had become unbearable. Holding everything together was costing me more than I could give. It felt like giving up, like failure, like throwing in the towel and admitting defeat. Not relief, just a quiet realization that continuing this way was slowly killing something in me. And for the first time, I didn't know what came next. The passage. I didn't find relief right away. I didn't even find answers. I didn't even find hope. What I found first was nothing. The fight stopped, not because I won, but because I was empty, exhausted. I had already accepted the worst possible outcome. I had nothing left to protect, nothing left to brace for. Whatever was coming, I had already made peace with it. And then something strange happened. The emotional volume dropped to zero. Not calm, not happiness, just stillness. A silence I had never experienced before. The weight that had been pressing on me for so long lifted immediately, without effort or explanation. Fear didn't disappear entirely, but it no longer mattered. It wasn't the loudest voice in the room anymore. I didn't know it then, but what lifted wasn't my circumstances. It was the belief that I had to keep bracing against them. I remember noticing that I was okay, then being curious about why I was okay, then realizing I had been holding so much tension that I forgot what neutral felt like. There was no breakthrough moment, no declaration, no spiritual language for it yet. I didn't know what had happened. I only knew something had shifted. The struggle had loosened its grip, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't resisting. I hadn't found my way out. I had stopped fighting where I was, and somehow that was enough. Stop resisting. The stillness didn't give me answers, it gave me curiosity. I started paying attention, not to fix anything, but because something inside of me was oriented differently. The same circumstances existed, the same uncertainty, but my focus had moved. I noticed where my attention went. Before, my focus was always pulled towards what could go wrong, toward proof that I had failed, toward the familiar weight of fear and self doubt. But now, without effort, my awareness began drifting toward what felt steady, what felt supportive, what felt alive. I realized I had been living as if control meant anticipating every possible outcome, thinking harder, bracing earlier, avoiding anything that reminded me of past pain. I thought discipline was protection. But curiosity showed me something else. The patterns I kept trying to avoid weren't following me because I was failing. They were returning because I hadn't faced them without resistance. My ego wasn't trying to hurt me, it was doing exactly what it had always done, responding to the lens I was looking through. Fear had been directing my attention, and attention had been directing my experience. When I stopped insisting that I knew how things would end, something realigned. Effort softened into allowance. Control gave way to trust, not the kind that demands certainty, but the kind that allows the next steps without knowing the whole path. I didn't abandon my ego. It didn't disappear. It changed its role. The return. I didn't realize it at first, but what I felt wasn't rescue. It was return. The relief I experienced wasn't because life suddenly became easier. It was because I stopped being divided against myself. I wasn't trying to outrun fear anymore, or prove my worth, or anticipate every possible outcome. I wasn't bracing. I wasn't resisting. I was here. Understanding came slowly, quietly, over time. I began to see what had actually shifted. Ego hadn't failed me. Fear hadn't betrayed me. There was no enemy. I had simply been living from a lens that kept me braced for survival, mistaking protection for control. And when that lens softened, when I stopped insisting on certainty, I didn't lose myself. I met myself. What I once thought I'd need deliverance from turned out to be the very thing guiding me back to alignment. Love and ego were never meant to be at war. One moves, one allows. Together they create wholeness. Not perfection, not certainty, wholeness. The kind that doesn't depend on circumstances. The kind that doesn't require fixing. The kind that exists when nothing inside you is being rejected. That's when I understood something simple and deeply freeing. There was never a prison, only the belief that I needed to escape. Deliverance wasn't an event, it was awareness, and it was always available.